Alright, it's recording.
Okay, so we had Jack. I don't know how well you can see him, but he's right here. And he came yesterday at 12:25, I believe they said. So I'm going to do a little birth story video since we have time before we can be released. So what happened was Sunday around 11:30, I had some contractions start, and I had one really long one, and then I had just sort of random ones that became more predictable throughout the day. So they weren't bad or anything. They were like a little bit uncomfortable, but they weren't painful at all. And I was, doing things with a friend, and then I went to dinner at my parents' house, and really the only thing that was annoying particularly was riding in the car. So, so by the end of Sunday, they had progressed. I think at 4:30 in the afternoon, they were 10 minutes apart. By 6:30 or so, they were about 6 minutes apart. And then things just went from there. They backed off overnight, so they were about 10 minutes apart then. And then in the morning, they came back to 5 minutes. By the morning, I was so ready to be done with contractions, because overnight they got pretty painful, and they caused bowel movements and things like that. So it's just, you have to keep getting up, and eventually I just started staying on the couch and just moaning through them, basically, which sounds so pathetic, but it really helps to make some sort of vocalization, I think. And so then around 7 we came into the hospital. I had called my doctor the night before when they were getting close to 5 minutes, and she said, wait until you're 3 to 5 minutes. And so that's what we did, essentially. 5 minutes, I just didn't wait longer than that. So, so we came in around 7 on Monday morning, and then we got here by 7:30 or so. And then when I was checked, I was 7 centimeters dilated. So I just, walked around the room a little bit, had some contractions, spent some time in the tub, did different things. And every time they checked me after that, I was still 7 centimeters. So after a few hours of that, I think they ended up breaking my water, which I was fine with. I thought that was a pretty safe way to go to speed things up, and I was really starting to worry that I'd be way too tired by the time I actually got to squeezing out Mr. Jack. And so they broke my water, and almost immediately I threw up a few things. I had really only had ginger ale, I think, and so I threw that up. And then Jack's heart rate started to either get unstable or be difficult to find or something like that. And so I stayed in the bed in one position, so that once we had found a position that worked, so that his heart rate would be a little more stable and a little bit better, and we wouldn't be taking risk with that.
I think it was just hard for them to find it, and they wanted to know what it was.
Oh, is that it?
Yeah, I don't think it was as much unstable as they just wanted to keep track of it, and it was hard when you were standing up.
Okay. Yeah, and especially since I was bending over for... Oh. I have to tell you what Al said, because I don't think you can hear them. But he said that his impression was it was really hard for them to find the heartbeat when I was standing up and moving positions, and they really wanted to know that it was good. I had thought that they were having an actual issue. But anyhow, we went through that, and so I did the rest of the labor in the bed. They had a bar that they put up so I could squat, and I tried that for part of it. Oh, and I did go to the toilet very briefly to do, just a different position, because the nurse really didn't have a problem with me going to sit on the toilet. She thought that would be a lot more comfortable for me, which was really nice. And then So I don't know how many hours later this was. Probably by, do you remember what time I would have started pushing? How long I was actually pushing for?
I'm guessing about 45 minutes.
Okay.
Maybe more. I really don't know.
So anyhow, it's well after 11 by this point. And I just remember that shortly after the water broke,
Like
I
they were preventing you from pushing.
Yeah, I
Like,
started having
it was-
really strong contractions that just, like my body was pushing, but they kept telling me not to push because they didn't want me, they didn't want me to tear my cervix or something?
Yeah, they were
So it
worried
wasn't
that if you
quite
start
dilated.
pushing too soon and the cervix wasn't completely dilated, that your cervix would swell up.
Yeah, they thought my cervix would swell up if it wasn't dilated all the way and all of that. So we held off, and then there was just like this tiny lip of my cervix, I guess, that was creating an issue. And
I don't think they decided on what that was in the end, because in the end they were like, maybe it's not the cervix after it was too late.
So who knows? Maybe it was just my bladder. I don't know what was going on there, but I was quite out of it and just like trying to get through the process because it's now been at least 24 hours and I'm just really tired. And it sounds pathetic, but that's like all I was saying is I'm so tired. And but they were good. They were really, really encouraging. They told me when I could actually feel his head.
You were falling asleep like instantly between contractions. Like,
Oh.
I could hear you like like.
Oh, you should talk loud enough so they can hear.
I was saying Sophie was falling asleep between contractions. She was that tired, so she'd have a contraction, and like within like 30 seconds or a minute of it ending, she'd fall asleep for like 2 or 3 minutes before the next one came.
So my advice to anyone who's in labor is, even if you think you may have a pretty quick labor, as soon as you notice contractions, try and take a nap, because I really wish I had done that on Sunday. But, yeah. Anyhow, so we were pushing and stuff, and I didn't have a good grasp of what it would feel like to have a baby coming out. And I have to say, it was really distracting that they told me how much it was going to hurt before we got there, you know? They told me, okay, you're going to feel some burning and a lot of pain in this area, and, you know, don't be afraid of it. And I kind of wish they hadn't said that, but I'm sure for somebody else that would have been helpful. And then the other thing is, it was really distracting that I was having so much pain in my butthole, which I did not expect. I don't know why I didn't expect that, but to feel like your intestines are popping out is just really distracting. And finally, I mean, as I'm thinking about this, I'm like, whatever, they can come out. I'm already in a hospital. Like, I don't even care anymore. So yeah, after that, after I got over those two things, basically Jack was born. And as soon as he came out, oh, I should tell you, when he came out, he was definitely blue, which is normal for babies. And his cord was wrapped around him a little bit also. So Al didn't get to catch him or the cord, but we're both fine with that. And then immediately after they pulled, or he came out, they put him right on my chest, and we got to hang out with him a little bit, and they had to give him a little bit of oxygen, and they ended up having to suction out, I guess it's his lungs, right, Al?
Yeah.
And so he didn't really take to breastfeeding right away, because I guess a lot of times suction babies still have a little mucus flying around, and they have to figure out the breathing properly first. So that's really how birth went. This morning he's still really not perfectly in tune with breastfeeding, but he's doing so much better, and he has like a better interest in the nipple and all of that stuff. So it's really encouraging that he's just consistently doing better. I got really lucky, and I had a little bit of tearing, but I requested them not to do any stitches, and they didn't because where it tore it wasn't bleeding. And do you remember any other details about that, Al?
Not
No.
particularly.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're doing good. Jack's had 2 poopy diapers so far and a pee one, so we're very proud of that. I was saying to Al this morning that Jack's so perfect right now because all he has to do is poop, and we think it's the most magical thing. And we're like, he's so healthy. And the rest of his life, we're going to be like, oh, he told a lie. But right now, all he has to do is poop, and he's perfect. Or breathe, or whatever. So, I don't know. I didn't really anticipate how surreal it would feel to actually be giving birth. And that may be partially because I had him far before my due date, right? Relatively far. So, I really thought that I was going to be pregnant for a while longer. So it felt really surreal and kind of magical. That's corny, but still feels magical. Yeah. And he's been doing good. Any other details I should share, Al?
I don't think of any.
We're getting circumcised today, and then we plan to go home after that. Because I'm feeling good, and I think Al and I are both feeling pretty confident. And, yeah, that's it for us. Can they see him, actually? Like, can they see him with a camera?
Yeah, they can see him right
Okay.
now.
So, I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye-bye.